Yeah, good morning and welcome back to Mark's Railway Trails. And it's not a railway trail today, but what I'm showing you today is one of my favourites, and I live just over the road from this park. And what I'm showing you today is Sherdley Park in St Helens. And the reason I've started here, originally this was the only way in many years ago into Sherdley Park. There used to be big iron gates here, big walls all around Sherdley Park, when it was known then as the Sherdley Hall. And where you're looking at now, there used to be like a lodge house at the side here, where the big iron gates was that led you into what was then called Sherdley Hall. And it was owned by a family who they named after, the Sherdley family, and that's who this park was named after. But I'm going to walk you into the park and going to do the full tour today, just give you the history of Sherdley Park as well. And as we get further into the park, I'll show you a picture where we're looking at now, where the gates used to be, and where the former house used to be as well. But yeah, Sherdley Park, it's the largest park in St Helens, and if you're just looking at it, I'll give you an idea of the size of it. 336 acres, and that's Marshall's Cross Road that you're looking at now, and it just gives you an idea of the size of the park as I swing the camera around, and you'll see it. Quite a, it is a big park actually, and I just wanted to get this on the blog today. But yeah, the largest park in St Helens, 336 acres. And I'll tell you more about the history of Sherdley Park as well when we get into it, and it has got a hell of a lot of history. And Sherdley Park has got a dark side to it as well, which a lot of people don't realise. A dark side and a spooky side as well, and it has got a resident ghost in Sherdley Park, which I'll tell you about later on as we find where this gentleman's been seen many times in Sherdley Park. And I'm going to take you into the dark side of Sherdley Park, which you will feel when we walk into it. And it's not a place I like walking through very often. But we'll start the tour, and I'm going to take you and do the full tour of Sherdley Park and give you more of the history of Sherdley Park as well. And what we're coming up to now with the iron sculptures, for those in St Helens who don't live in St Helens, so I'll be wondering what these are. The one on the left is a glass blower, obviously from St Helens, Pilkington Glass, world famous for it. The guy in the middle you all know is Johnny Vegas, who made it onto the comedy circuit. Benidorm and loads of other things he'd done. His dad was in the priesthood in St Helens, and Johnny Vegas, before he became a comedian, was looking at joining the priesthood, and I'm glad he made it onto the comedy circuit. And he started his comedy at the Citadel in St Helens, a place that we all love for live music. And the guy on the right is Steve Prescott. For those of you who don't know who Steve Prescott is, if I just zoom into it, you'll just catch it on his shirt. He played for St Helens, and he was one very fit guy. Unfortunately lost his life to cancer. And I'll just show the this is why the plaque was made really. If I just zoom into it there, you'll see it, and it tells you Steve Prescott, MBE, played for St Helens Rugby League, and he's regarded as a living legend. He was, for all the money he raised for charity. Johnny Vegas, and the glass blower, manufactured since 1700s. Glass remains a proud feature of St Helens industrial heritage, and that's what that plaque is there for, just to give you an idea. But we're going to walk the park and give you the full tour of Sherdley Park. And But if you just flip my camera around here, you'll see a massive big tree in the middle. In our house we call that Prince's tree, because me and my dog Prince, we had for 13 years, used to spend most of our time in this park, and that was his favourite tree. We'd sit under there with a few waters when it was sunny and just chill out, and he loved it. So that's what we call Prince's tree. I'm going to walk the park and do the full tour for you. It's got 2 woods, Sherdley Park. It's got a golf range, it's got a golf course, it's got an outside keep fit open centre, kiddies area, 2 woods, a restaurant, and used to have Pets Corner, that's sadly gone. But if you just look here now, you'll see a lot of these as you're walking around Sherdley Park, and I'll tell you a bit more what they're before when we hit the next one. Big path they've got in here now is a cycle path that they've put in to give more access to bikes, and you'll see that as we get further on. There you go, it's just highlighting the cycle paths. Get loads of dog walkers in this park, it's ideal for it. But one thing they do in Sherdley Park, they do look after it and keep it well looked after. And there you go, you'll see another one here just on your left hand side. Now if you're wondering what they're for people who's doing walking and running, it's like a distance, it measures your distance. And if you look down there now, people use this like a circuit, it's like a small circuit, you know, for running, walking, and kind of builds your fitness up. You know, when I had COVID and I weren't too good, I used this small circuit quite a bit before I ventured over into Sherdley Park. And if you look right in the distance there, you'll see a hut and a load of building works going on. That's a cycle hub that you can hire out cycles and just cycle Sherdley Park really, and then just return them when you're finished, which is a nice feature really. But we're going to keep it going as we walk it, and I'll show you all the Sherdley Park on the full tour. If you just look here now, you'll see a lot of the trees. They've actually been cutting these trees, and I live just on the back here of Sherdley Park, and watching the guys cutting the trees. They've opened up a lot of the trees now, and cut a lot of the branches and leave them just on the top, and they've done most of these along the front. And watching these guys cut these trees, it's unbelievable, because they get up to the trees not by ladders, by ropes, pull themselves up, pull the chainsaws up, and they're just up and down the trees by rope. It's unbelievable watching them. The fitness of them guys is uncanny. It is uncanny. And if you carry on walking this way with the path, that just leads you to Lee Green Station, but we're not going that way today. We're going to take the first wood in St Helens. There's 2 woods in St Helens, and I'll just flip the camera around and show you. That's the top end of Sherdley Park, sorry, the bottom end of Sherdley Park. You can see how far it goes back just from the front. It goes way back, and then that takes you down into like a dip, and then it goes up to a higher level in Sherdley Park. We'll just show you the first wood now that we're going into. We've got 2 characters here. Morning. Hello. Oh, you see, you get loads of dog walkers in here. And this is the first wood that we're hitting in Sherdley Park. And they've done a lot of clearing around here. Now they've cleared it all up just so you can walk through. If you see one of the dogs chasing the squirrels. He loves it. Morning, mate. You alright? Get a lot of squirrels around here and dogs love running after them. But yeah, they've cleared a lot of this this woods up now. This is called Dam Wood, and what they've done, they've opened it all up really and cut it so you can actually walk through it. And if you're wondering where Dam Wood is, if you look to the left, that's Sutton High School on your left hand side. So this is the wood at the side of the high school. And they've left a lot of big trees that they fell down for people to sit on, but they've just opened it up really. And when I was a superstore manager for the Co-op, I used to come here virtually every night with my dog Prince after getting in from work, and we'd spend a good hour around Sherdley Park, and he used just to follow this path all the way down to the fields. Never had him on a lead. I used to just follow him, and he did the same route virtually every night. He loved it, and it was great after a day in retail just to get out. But you can see how much they've opened it up. And I was asking some of the forest guys who were doing a lot of the felling, and they said they're opening up to that lighting, and so a lot of the other trees can survive really, and any that were dying they just felled. So, but for every tree that they felled, they always planted 2 more, and you'll see that around Sherdley Park. And it's renowned for how many trees have been planted in this park, especially when it was Sherdley Hall Estates. I just take a minute and you can just see the different paths and the way they go. And I know Sherdley Park round the back of me, like the back of my hand, so I didn't have to really do a lot of research on it, but when I did start researching it, it answered a question about the other wood that I'm going to take you in, Delft Wood, that I never felt easy about. If you look to the left, there's always a lot of gullies going down Sherdley Park, and it's where all the water runs, and they all run towards town. There you can see one of the squirrels, just get it there, just going up the tree, if you can see it. And you get loads of squirrels around here, and you can do 2 ways. That way takes you to the little lake, or you can follow it this way. Morning. Morning. Morning, Cheap. Hello. And this is the way we used to always come with Prince, because it leads to the playing field. So, like I say, you can see a lot of the felling that they've done. And you kind of leave them for like picnic areas and things, but Prince used to just lead the way on this. And me and Daniel, my son Daniel as well, when he was growing up, we used to always come this way as well for the back of the park here, playing football, and we've done that for donkey's years. Happy days when you look back. Like I said, you'll see loads of little gullies all the way through the woods, all through Sherdley Park, and they all run in that direction, and that takes you to the first little dam, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now, when we was growing up, this field wasn't fenced off, and I'll tell you more about that now, why it's fenced off. And we used to come out here, me and Daniel, football, 2 poles, spend hours here kicking the ball. And what you're looking at now, you're wondering why all that's fenced off in Sherdley Park. Right in the corner, I'll flip my camera up, you'll see Sidak, not Sidak, yeah, Sidehat Football Club. They give a 25-year lease to play on Cherdley Park, and they've set up like a little clubhouse over there, some more pitches and a big pitch here. And the reason they've done that, where they was in Marshall's Cross in St Helens, they wanted the land for houses. So the agreement was, if they sold the land to a housing development, St Helens Council would let them lease part of this for so many years on Cherdley Park, and the housing development would have to fund setting up the pitches. And it's a bit of a grey area in St Helens, because when I was treasurer for our St Helens Town Football Club, when it moved to Ruskin Drive, and then Pilkinsons didn't want anything to do with it, we had 16 teams nowhere to play, and we had badgered the council to try and find somewhere, and they would never even meet us. And we asked about Cherdley Park to play football on, and they said they couldn't do it because it was classed as greenbelt land. But it just shows you now, when they want some houses building on a big plot, what they'll do for houses. And it's renowned in St Helens that they do that. So greenbelt, even though it's classed as greenbelt, just be very wary, and that's what they've set up. And I'm glad they have, to a degree, because this part of the park wasn't really used a lot, so it's not really giving anything up. Just that part of the pitches, they've not really spoilt it, so you can understand why they do it, but you don't understand they're only doing it just to get houses. And this is one of the top fields in Cherdley, but I'm going to take you now and show you the first little dam in Cherdley Park. If you're wondering where all the trees run along there, just flip the camera. That's where Cherdley Park Golf Club is, and golf course, 18-hole golf course. But it is such a lovely park, and if I refer to it sometimes as Taylor Park, excuse me, because where I grew up, my mum and dad's backed onto Taylor Park, and it's always in your brain, Taylor Park. But this park, it is a nice park, and I'll say it's on level pegging to Taylor Park, really, you know, just in a different way. And here we go, we're going to hit the first little dam. And you can actually get to it that way. You can just see where the lady's walking through now. You'll just see her in the distance. That's Dam Wood that we came through. You can actually come this way. But this is mainly for wildlife, really, this part of the park. You don't really get anybody fishing on here. I've never seen anybody. But you get lots of mallards and loads of ducks. They all congregate around here. You can just see them all, and the council have set like little walkways up that you can walk it. There you go. See all so it's more for wildlife, this part of the park. And right in the corner here, it's like people in St Helens always bring the kids when they come to Cherdley Park. They call it Ducks Corner. Everybody comes with the kids feeding the ducks. But what a lovely day for this walk. So clear, and I've done this and videoed this walk before, but it was so windy, and I did it in high resolution. It distorted a lot of it, so I wanted to do it again, really. But there you go, that's one of the first little dams, and a lot of this was like pit area, and they just filled them in with water, and it doesn't look very deep, but apparently when you get into the middle it's a bit deceiving. It is quite deep, and like I say, this is what we call Ducks Corner in Cherdley. Everybody comes, feeds the ducks for the kids, and you can get that back to Dam Wood that way as well. There's like a little walkway that just goes all the way around into Dam Wood. But Lovely peaceful corner of the park this. You feel happy here, and you don't get any bad vibes. And where I'm going to take you in a minute is totally the opposite. It's the dark side of Sherdley Park, with a lot of unrest you feel when you walk into it. And when I started reading up on the history of it, I understand why now. A lot of tragedy in the other parts of the park, and it's a very, very grey, and you just get an eerie feeling, and I understand why now. I'll tell you more about that as we walk it. But you see all the ducks coming towards you now, because when you stand here, they're so used to when people stand here, they're feeding them, so they always, all the ducks from all around the park will, in this part, will come and see you now, because they think they're getting some bread. Unfortunately, I've not got any this morning, guys, and that's what we call Duck's Corner. And so I'll show you where we've come from now, but I just want to show you, this is what we call the kiddies area, top of Sherdley, and they've fenced it off, the kiddies area, so no dogs can get in and foul in it and stuff. And right up there, I'll try and flip my camera up. You can just see up there now. I'll try and zoom in on it. Just up there now, where you can see the guy on the bike. That's an outdoor keep fit area that's there all year that you can use, and it's just open there, it's always out, and people use it for fitness. You get lots of fitness classes there as well. So that's the fitness area, there's the kiddies area where all the swings are. I'll carry on. So like I said, they got other things for kids there, like little swings and stuff. That takes you up to the kiddies area of the park. But if you look here now, just on the right hand side, if you're wondering what that is, that's when the skateboarding revolution came in. 80s, 90s, they were all wanting skateboard parks, and that's what they set up for them. So you get a lot of skateboarders on there. The path here that comes down, that's where if you remember showing you the gate as we come in, that path just brings you to here. But we've done, like I say, the First Wood, Dam Wood, the Little Dam, the top playing corner fields of Sherdley Park where side-out football set up. I'm going to walk across here now, and if you look at the hills here now, my classic picture of all time with Prince is sat on top of that hill with Prince just surveying the park and looking to see who's in it. It's one of my all-time favourite pictures. I kind of dropped down now, and you understand how big the park is. That takes you back to Marshall's Cross Road. And then what you're seeing at the other end of the park now, you probably think they've not cut the grass or anything. They're doing what they call wildlife area of Sherdley Park with the grass, and what they do, they only cut certain parts of it and leave it for the bees and all the insects. So it's like a wild walk. If you see where they cut it in the middle, flip the camera right up and you'll see it, and you can see what they've done. They've kind of left a wildlife area and then just make a path in as they cut it. And right up there you'll see the shelters all coloured in. You've got 2 or 3 of them around Sherdley Park, and it's places you can shelter if you get caught in the rain. And but this hill in winter, it's packed for sledging. Not as good as Taylor Park because it's not as steep, but it still gets used a lot. I'll tell you more about Sherdley Park now, because what will be on this board will highlight what I was telling you as we're walking through, but I'll tell you in a bit more detail before we get into the sinister dark side of Sherdley Park. And you see these boards all around Sherdley Park telling you the history. And I'm going to zoom in on a couple of things. If you remember when we first started the blog and I told you about the coach house and all the gates, well, that's what it used to look like in Sherdley Park. And you're going back to 1890s here. Roy Hughes, a young Lord of St Helens, Sherdley Hall, Old Hall, and if you look at the Sherdley Old Hall, I'll show you where that is later. It's still here. We had a lot of the windows bricked up, and that was due to going back then. The more windows you had, the more tax you paid, and they called it window tax. And it's renowned for its wildlife, Sherdley Park. These are all the things it's renowned for. They get a lot of bats and birds and butterflies and all sorts, really. It's renowned for it, you know. Like I said, Sherdley Park's the largest park in St Helens, 336 acres, which is only a fraction really what Sherdley Estate was back in 1873, when it was over 1,207 acres, comprising of 2 halls, old and new, Sherdley Hall, Sherdley Cottages and Sherdley Hall Farm. And I'll leave that on there. That'll give you the history of the park, what I'm going to tell you really. The park is named after Sherdley family that can trace back to 1303, when Sherdley Estates was mainly farmland occupied by tenants. 1543 the Sherdleys sold the estate to Richard Bold, and later Richard Ruffley, who paid St Helens Baron of Parr 440 quid to acquire Sherdley Hall. This was inherited by Thomas Ruffley, and on his death 1630 the estate interim fee includes Sherdley Hall, a garden, orchards, land, 6 acres of meadows, 14 acres of pasture, 2 acres of woods. And we've already done one of the woods. There are at least 2 old halls with most of the recent buildings built in 1671. I'll show you where they are. Which later became Sherdley Hall Farm, which still exists and is a grade listed building. I'll show you where that is. Which for hundreds of years served as the manor house of the Lord of Manor of Sutton. Michael Hughes purchased the estate for 3,150 and remained in the Hughes family for 150 years, which this time they allowed limited public access to the park, which was locked at the evening because they had big walls around it, so you couldn't get in. In 1806 Michael Hughes built a new Sherdley Hall, while Sherdley Hall and Crostiff Hall had all been long demolished, so this survived. Captain Mark Hughes and his wife Edna added 100 acres to Sherdley Park around the turn of the 20th century. Almost 10,000 trees were planted and a small lake during the 1910-40. The park gardens were celebrated in the region under the stewardship of the head gardener Thomas Holland. I'll tell you more about Thomas Holland, who worked here for 45 years. He turned the gardens and greenhouses into a profitable concern, with fruit and vegetables being sold at local markets, and Sherdley exhibitions won numerous prizes at flower shows. In 1930 the Sherdley estate began to break up. Colonel Michael Hughes died. His nephew Michael Hughes Jr. inherited Sherdley Park and became the Lord of St Helens in '64, the year after I was born, and he sold Sherdley Park to the St Helens Corporation for 18,700 on June the 27th, 1949, and that's when it became a public park. Around this time the walls surrounding the park still existed, but when they demolished it in the early 1950s, and all the remains of the small park next to the barriers on Marshall Cross Road and the land on the other side of Marshall Cross Road and between Sutton Park and Eves Lane was sold on to housing developers in 1966, and that's where I live now, in one of those houses. Sherdley Estates still exists under a group of trustees, and that trustees apparently when they sold the park to the council, that they couldn't build houses on it, and it was left to the people of St Helens. In 1953 the formal gardens were opened to the public, and it was renowned for rhododendron's wall, which I'll show you. And it's been said that Sherdley was the first park in England to grow the famous Ken Road and rhododendrons. And if you want to look who Michael Hughes was, that's the guy just there. And that's a plan of Sherdley Estates taken from survey maps belonging to Michael Hughes, and that was dated back to 1826. That was Sherdley Hall, and I'll show you roughly where that was, and the coat of arms that bears the date 1698, that Thomas Ruffley and his family foreknown as the Sherdley, prior to the arrival of Michael Hughes. The coat of arms was believed to be situated on Crosted House, possibly Sherdley Hall. The plinth now resides within the gardens in Sherdley Park, and I'll show you where that is. So that's the history really of Sherdley Park, but I'll tell you a bit more as well. But there's a woodland area that they've set up, and as I said, they just cut little paths in it that you can walk through, and that takes you up to the top of Sherdley Park. Well, I'm going to carry on through the wood now, and what we're walking to now is Delftwood, and we're not in Delftwood yet, but I just wanted to show you this because this leads to Delftwood. And at this corner of the park there used to be a lot of water pits, if you're wondering why you get a lot of water down here. And I'll show you one of them that's still here, and there's numerous ways you can go here. But what a lovely day for it, and there's no wind today, so you can hear my croaky voice more. Well, I'll just take you and show you one of these. They were called water pits, obviously from the mining that they did round here, and when they stopped they filled them in with water. And I got a better shop up here. You should hit some steps here shortly. Here you go. And that's the same plaque that we've just been reading off, but they've opened all this up again. Do you see how they've opened it up? Just so you can actually walk through it, and it's a bit more safer. Now you see the squirrels. You see a lot of squirrels in this park, just hiding around there. But I'll get a higher shot of this and I'll show you. These are one of the like I said, water pits that they just filled in with water really. And he said don't underestimate how deep they are, because when I was doing research into this park, they said that if you dove in you'd be very lucky to touch the bottom, and they're very, very deep because they just filled them full of water and they go down really deep. So, you know, not that you'd go in there with the state of all the green mould and stuff on top. And but this part of the park, I just want you to get a feel of it. It is it's quite nice. You don't get a weary feeling, but very quiet as well. But we're going to go up top, right, and let the young lady go down. But that just takes you right back up to where we came really. So there you go. You can just see the a lot of people don't know that's there, to be honest with you. Morning! How are you, mate? You wouldn't think that's there, would you? Yeah. But everybody that lives around here will know all these little hidey holes and crannies really. But there you go, there's another shot of it. And like I said, don't underestimate how deep them places are. I'll tell you more about that when we get into the dark side of Sherdley Park, which they call Delftwood. That's a better shot. You can see it now. If you look up, you can see that they've done all the walkways cut out in the grass, and they just take you all the way up to the park. Like you say, you do miss you do miss not having a dog, really, to be honest with you. But can you see how it's all grown up? They just let it all grow. But there's no wind today, which is brilliant. There you go, that gives you a better shot, really. Do you see it? And they've done that all the way around. It's like little paths, and that takes you all the way up to the top of the park. And there's another little hidden gem here which people don't know about as well. I'll show you. It's like a bit of a hidden treasure, really. Morning. Got a little character here. I'm just doing a blog on Sherdley Park for the council, so
that's a good idea.
all round showing everywhere.
Yeah,
So then we'll get it on YouTube. So
yeah, I'll have a look.
if you want to see, just tap in Mark's Railway Trails.
Right.
That's me.
Right, I will do.
You'll get it.
Look at that.
All right. I'll take a picture. You'll be on it. There you go. You're on it now. There you go. All right. It's always nice to get somebody on your blog, isn't it? That's just heading back to where we came up. But what I'm going to show you now is what they call Chucky Mountain in St Helens. People will wonder, what the hell's Chucky Mountain? I'm going to show you where it is. But as you can see there, what I was on about before. They're all round Sherdley Park, and it's to measure your distance. That's going back to Marshall's Cross Road. Well, what we're going to show you now is Chucky Mountain. And you're wondering what Chucky Mountain is, aren't you? Here we go. And what Chucky Mountain was in World War II, there was like a big war bunker here, and they had all walls around it, and it's a bit like a defence system, really. And they had like all little buildings, and you can't see it from this side, but I'll show you from the other. So I'm going to leg it up here and show you. When you get right to the top, you'll see them. And if you look just along here now, you can see them high up, but if you look just down there, can you just see where the part of the walls are still there? And this is what they call Chucky Mountain. And I'm going to attempt to get down here now without going over. There you go, that's the last remaining walls, really. And that would have been the entrance, and they call it Chucky Mountain. But in World War II, it was like an observation post, and you had small buildings here, and it's still here. And me and Prince used to go on there on the top, walking. And as I said, you got all these gullies going through, and I'm going to jump this one. Whoa! And this is another way into Sherdley Park as well, right down from the other end. And what you've got here, I'll just flip my camera over briefly and show you. What you've got here is Sherdley Park driving range. You can just see it over there, and you can go and practice your swings and everything. I think it tends just to open a lot weekends now, and you don't have to be a member there, just come in and bring your clubs and hit a few balls. But again, it's just open at weekends now. Now what we're going to lead to now, we're going to take you up to the higher part of the park, and we're going to find the big farmhouse had all his windows boarded, bricked up so they didn't have to pay council tax. We're going to find the secret gardens and find the restaurant and the 19-hole golf course. There's still lots to find, but before that I'm going to take you into the dark side of Sherdley Park, and it's not a place I like going a lot, to be honest with you, because you do get a bad feeling about it really. A bit of a hill here, and like I said, this is the other part of like the circuits really. But we're going to take you into Delft Wood now, and this is the dark side of Sherdley Park, and I'll tell you why when we get further in. Now this actually leads towards the town centre. You can cut through here and it brings you out on the roundabout near McDonald's, but just show you some of these paths. They go all around this, we call Delft Wood, and you can see where all the gullies run, and they all run towards town because all the water runs that way. And it's about a 10-minute walk through Delft Wood, but even now I get a strange feeling in this place, and many a time I used to cut through here coming back from town, even sometimes when it was going dark, and a bit stupid really, because it's such a lonely place. And if you can just see where all the water runs, it all goes this way over the bridge, and if you just look down there, it's all running towards the town. I'm not going to walk all this wood, but I'm going to tell you more about the history. And just round about here in the middle of the wood, and you can see how the water runs. All this was a pit. They called it the water pit because it was just filled with water originally when it was Sherdley Hall Estates, and it was just full of water. And apparently it was so deep, if you dove in, you wouldn't touch the bottom. It was that deep. And it was this park, unfortunately, why we call it the dark side of the park, it was renowned for suicides in that, what they call the pit lake. And they call it the water pit, to be honest with you, and it was filled with water. But it was so deep, apparently you could never touch the bottom.